Hey, come here. Hey. Come here. Neeson alert. No, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it.
Where the fuck do you think this is?
I will fuck you up. Alright,
where the fuck do you think you are?
Don't slap me, bro.
Where the fuck do you think this is?
Don't slap me, bro.
Fucking idiot.
Where the fuck do you think this is?
You wanna go?
I'll knock you. I'll knock you. I'll knock you out. I'll knock you out. I'll knock you out. I'll knock you out.
Everyone.
Where the fuck do you think this is? Where the fuck do you think this is, huh? Where the fuck do you think this is? Huh? Who's that fucking black capper? Who's that capper? Who's that capper? Huh? Who's that capper? Who's that fucking capper?
You're hiding.
Huh?
Who's going to again?
Huh? Who's that capper? I'll knock you out, you motherfucking prick.
Fucking big. Do it.
Oh,
you stand over here.
Well, you little nigga friend.
Hey, bro, hey, watch what you're saying, man.
Let me follow me, nigga, one more time, motherfucker.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, we as a people need to take control over our own minds. There is a reason America indoctrinates us from a very young age. They need to be in control of how we see ourselves and how we see the world. Because if we ever fully develop the mindset of freedom or nothing, that would not only change America, it would change the world. Once we rally around each other and protect each other, other groups can't just come into our communities and do whatever they want. But we get stuck in a tribal mindset and argue with each other about symptoms of the problem instead of addressing the root of the problem. You can't change the system from within the system because the system was literally designed around your oppression. You take that away, you destroy the system. It was never meant to benefit us, only hurt us. But we're always the first one to fight for it and do anything to get accepted by it. Anything but create your own system. We never got past the tribalism mindset. And the only way the system can work is if we are off code. Historically, they only attack us in groups where they have the upper hand or they go after unprotected targets. And when they have you outmanned and outgunned and you don't even have a community to back you up, they can and will do whatever they want to do. That's why it's important to keep us separated. And America has always passed laws to keep us separated. In 1795 in Georgetown, they passed a law making it illegal for 5 or more black people to even get together. And then America has always deputized its citizens to enforce these laws. Sometimes they even forced them by law to do it. It was the average white person that made up the patty rollers, the slave patrol. And America sponsored and sanctioned, and in some cases required by law, the attack on black men, women, and children, old or young. In Texas, a young 17-year-old brother, Daquan Huey, ended up getting blinded by Texarkana police. Now, let's see how somebody could end up getting blinded by the police.
Huh?
Let's go. Let's go. It's like close. I can't see out of it, man.
Keep following those wires. There's a wood generator. Get it started. What are you up to? I have an idea.
In tonight's top story, a teenager who says he was permanently injured by a Texarkana, Texas police officer while being arrested is speaking out. Daquan Huey's attorney held a press conference this afternoon. NBC6's Jenna Jordan shares details.
Can't see out my left eye. It's hard to navigate, like move around. I run into things on my left side. Can't.
17-year-old Daquan Huey says he was breaking up a fight January 27th.
Trying to make everybody stop, 'cause I didn't want nobody to get seriously hurt. It was some There was too much going on out there.
But the Texarkana, Texas Police Department says Huey was a part of the fight and was resisting arrest. Huey faces a disorderly conduct charge.
There was certainly disorder in the area, but Daquan was serving as a peacemaker. Those charges need to be dropped immediately.
According to a lawsuit filed by Huey, Texarkana, Texas police officer Scott Lillis used excessive force on Huey, firing a mace gun at point-blank range, permanently damaging his left eye.
Law enforcement should be actually held to a higher standard of justice, not a lower standard of justice.
Huey's attorney also says the family wants the issue of excessive force brought to a grand jury. The police department says they are investigating the complaint. Huey's mother says she's seeking justice for her son's injuries.
I have to look at him every day and wonder why, I wasn't there to protect him. That's what they took from me.
Jenna Jordan, NBC6 News.
We did reach out to the city's attorney for comment, but did not yet receive a response.
Now, according to police, there was a big fight involving a lot of people, and this 17-year-old brother, Daquan Huey, was out there trying to break it up, trying to play peacemaker. But according to police, they said he was involved in actually fighting. They said they saw this brother Daquan in the alley, and he had a bat in his hand, and they said he was fighting with a woman. And the police said they saw him exchange blows. So I guess he was punching her with one hand while he was holding the bat in the other hand. Now, Daquan Huey said he had already dropped the bat, and he was being approached by a woman, but he was backing away from her. And while he was backing up, one cop, Scott Lillis, grabbed him from behind, and he said he put him in a chokehold. Now, he said during the fighting, he didn't know who was grabbing him, so of course he tried to get away. And most people would with somebody choking you. Now, the police, who repeatedly referred to the 17-year-old as a man, even though he a teenager that still can't even vote or buy cigarettes, said this brother was resisting arrest. So the cop, Scott Lillis, who was holding him from behind, turned him around and shot a mace gun at point-blank range in his face. Now, understand, this gun is a projectile gun. The gun shoots cans of mace, not just mace. The police aren't even allowed to use it within 5 feet of somebody. But he shot him point-blank range in his face and his eye. And this young brother, Daquan Huey, had broken bones in his face. And now he permanently blind in one eye. And it's putting so much strain on his other eye. If he don't get surgery, he could lose sight in that eye too. And end up completely blind.
The Texarkana teen says he was partially blinded by an officer's pepper spray. Now he's filing a federal lawsuit. This happened on January 27th on Brookwood Street and Belt Road. That is where officers say they were called to break up a fight involving about 80 kids. KTBS 3's Julie Parr is live in Texarkana, Texas. So, Julie, how was this teen involved in this fight?
Well, Jamie, police tell us that he was involved in the fight and was resisting arrest, but he tells us that he was there to break up the violence. Daquan Huey says he was blinded in the left eye after being shot at close range by a police officer's JPX pepper spray gun. His family has now filed an excessive force complaint. Huey's attorney, Lee Merritt of Philadelphia, is asking that the Texarkana District Attorney present the officer's case to a grand jury and that charges against Huey be dropped. Huey says he was breaking up a fight when an officer grabbed him from behind and he was shot in the face at close range.
Can't see out my left eye. It's hard.
We want to see a proper criminal investigation into the actions of this police officer. Until that's done, we'll continue to push.
With this incident that happened to him, I have to look at him every day and wonder why, I wasn't there to protect him. That's what they took from me.
Last week, the police department issued a statement saying that an internal investigation into the incident was now underway. Reporting in Texarkana, Julie Parr, KTBS 3 News.
All right, thanks, Julie. Now, according to police, Huey was fighting with a woman in a nearby alley. One officer tried to hold on to Huey, who was armed with a bat. Police say Huey tried to attack the officer, so the officer pepper sprayed him. Huey is facing charges of disorderly conduct and resisting arrest.
Now, the cop haven't been charged or even disciplined. The police said they're going to investigate. And somehow when it comes to the cop, they're clueless and have to do a lot of investigation before they can even speak on it. But as clueless as they are about what the cops did, they do know enough to actually charge this young brother, Daquan Huey. They charged him with resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and fighting in public. But when it comes to what this cop did, now they know nothing. And most likely after they investigate themselves, nothing will happen. Like with the mall cop that shot the brother EJ Bradford. This brother, who was a hero trying to help people get out of the mall and get away from a mass shooter, The mall cop ended up shooting him and calling him the gunman. Meanwhile, the real shooter got away. And it's not just cops or security guards. Average citizens try to do the same thing to us. And they try to go after all the people that can't defend themselves.
A 21-year-old man is facing charges tonight for allegedly attacking an elderly man because of his race. According to court records, Albert Gallegos is upset that his mother is dating a black man, so he viciously attacked this 92-year-old victim because he also is black.
It happened last month at a bus stop at the corner of Broadway and Brockton in front of a taqueria. Our Sophia Beausoleil is live from Southeast Houston with more of the details on this. Sophia?
Police say the victim did not know his accused attacker and says that he was just standing right here minding his business, waiting for the bus when he was assaulted. Last month on January 7th, a 92-year-old man was standing right here waiting to catch the bus right in front of this taqueria. It was the day before his birthday, but instead of celebrating a milestone, the 92-year-old man had to deal with a major injury. Court records say a 21-year-old man named Albert Gallegos walked up behind the elderly man unprovoked and, quote, viciously attacked him unconscious.
Porque le tiraba unas piedrononas el muchacho a la cabeza al señor, al viejito.
This woman doesn't want to show her face, but says she saw the suspect throw big rocks at the elderly man. Police believe the alleged attack was racially motivated and are calling it a hate crime because the elderly man is black.
Albert Gallegos.
Gallegos appeared before a judge for a different charge, aggravated assault against a family member. Court records state he's accused of threatening to kill his mother and her boyfriend, who is black, back in December.
The defendant was standing in the driveway with a large kitchen knife.
In court records, the investigator says after reading other cases, he believes, quote, the suspect is obviously a violent person and has hatred towards African Americans because his mother is dating a black male. And authorities believe that is why Gallegos is accused of attacking that 92-year-old man randomly. Now, Gallegos remains behind bars tonight on $35,000 bond. That's for the incident that happened here and also the accused incident that happened amongst a family member.
Now, this Latino guy, Albert Gallegos, snuck up behind a 92-year-old man and attacked him. This man was mad because his mom's boyfriend was black, so he went out and attacked another black man. Now notice, he didn't go after a black man his age. He didn't even go after his mom's boyfriend. He creeped up behind a 92-year-old man who was waiting at the bus stop, and he attacked him until he was unconscious. Now, I don't know where anybody was to stop it, but people want us to cape for people like him and even share reparations with him. Now, understand this. Historically, groups that weren't accepted as white have always thrown us under the bus to get accepted as white. In a lot of cases, they'll go overboard and show even more hatred towards us just so they could get accepted. They will turn on us in a heartbeat and attack us, but we're supposed to cape and defend them at every single turn. But the fact is, we can't help nobody else until we help ourselves. So we have to focus on our issues. We have to focus on putting our tribalism to the side and do what we have to do to get to where we want to get. Because at the end of the day, we all we got. And we're the only ones that can change it.
Priceless. Say she gestures one more time. Priceless. Walk of shame. In the cold. Bye, Felicia.
The police officer under fire in Detroit. That officer accused of posting a racist video of himself mocking a young black woman after impounding her car as she walked home in the sub-zero cold. Here's ABC's Adrian Bankert.
Priceless.
Tonight, a Detroit officer is under fire for posting this on Snapchat. He and his partner appeared to mock a woman they've stopped for driving with expired registration.
Walk of shame. In the cold.
Officers ordered Ariel Moore's car towed. Despite sub-zero temperatures, the police chief says she declined a ride home and began walking when Officer Gary Steele posted to Snapchat.
I'm angry because this was a racially insensitive post.
The filter on that post reads, celebrating Black History Month and what black girl magic looks like. Then one officer says this dismissive phrase.
Bye, Felicia.
When Moore saw the video, she was at a loss.
I'm kind of shocked. Don't really know how to feel right now. What they put on there, that's racist.
And that officer has been demoted and is now on administrative leave and could not be reached for comment. The second officer, Tom, is also under investigation.
Get your ID for me, bro.
38, back to the grandmother. They are separated.
Because if I'm going to hand that child to you, whether that picture or not, I want to see the ID. I want to see your ID. Okay, listen. Okay, fine. I'm going to take her to jail because she got a warrant, okay? I'm going to call child services on this kid. Don't quit with me, boy.
Why are you yelling?
You hear me? Get your ID now.
ID.
Now. Get your ass back in the car. I'm tired of playing games with you. Give me some ID. Now.
Why you being so hostile?
Because you give me I'm tired of it. Give me some ID.
I came here to try to be helpful. I ain't got
You ain't being it. Give me some ID. Now.
For what?
I want to know who this baby going with. Now.
Going with me, Alan Floyd.
No. Give me your ID.
My name is Alan Floyd. You can look me up. My name is Alan Floyd.
If you lie to me one time, I'm taking your ass to jail. You understand me, man?
Baby, man.
Come on.
Stop calling me boy, man. What you doing?
I'm gonna fuck you up. Take my name.
I just told you my name.
Get the baby. Why you grabbing the baby, man?
You fucking man.
Shut up.
I ain't doing nothing.
You're gonna go, man.
I ain't doing nothing.
You listen. Get your drunk ass over there.
Come on, move, man.
You gonna understand me? You gonna communicate?
Yeah. Why you doing that to me, man? Look at my son. He got a problem.
You don't get it.
I didn't. You asked my name. I gave my name.
You sound like
you said my name. I'm gonna be in trouble. I said it's my name.
What did I ask you the first time? Give me your ID.
My name is Alan Floyd, sir.
We gonna go the hard way. Let's do it.
No, it's not the hard way. It's the sensible way. We can communicate like men.
I have to give you ID. You said I don't have to give you my ID.
No, I did not say that. I said what for?
I told you 3 times.
I never said I wasn't giving you my ID. No, nothing. I never said I wasn't telling you my name. I asked you what for. This is it. Everybody do this. Just chill.
I have another unit
Okay. It's gonna get nasty real quick, boss. Come over here and talk to me, man. Get her under control first. Get her under control. Sit down in the car.
Get down in the car!
Get in the car! Get in the car, man! Everybody got
Okay, grab your baby. Grab your baby to a cop crying. You gonna talk to me like a man, you come over and talk to me. Let's see you right here.
You say you trying to shoot motherfuckers?
I kill motherfuckers.
Oh, you kill motherfuckers?
Motherfuckers out here today. Dude.
And you just tried to hit me with the car?
Don't try to film me, dude, alright? You want to do the bullshit?
I'm just saying that.
How about I lock you up for walking in the street?
I ain't do nothing.
You're walking in the street?
I'm walking across the street.
Illegally?
I'm walking across the street and I'm recording.
Illegally?
No, it's not.
Bye.
You say you shoot people and kill people?
No.
Oh, yes, you did. It's on camera, bro.
We got your homie on camera saying it already.
Right, he said this. He just said that.
You know you was on camera with your dumb ass, bro. Dumb as hell, bro. Point your camera at us through there, bro. Nigga, stop playing me, nigga. Don't deal. Talking about, bud. Talking about said, bud. Well, we gonna walk with you.
I'm gonna walk with you all day.
Come on.
We gotta
go to the park.
Hey, let's go. Me too. Let's go. Hey. We're gonna play at the park.
Hey, y'all see him try to kick it
brother?
with us? You see him try to kick it with us?
Hey,
Odell,
you wanna know the good news though?
What's up?
Illinois is a 2-party consent state, and I don't consent to you recording me. So
I'm recording myself. I'm on Snapchat. You tripping?
Oh, watch out, man! You hit my shoe.
Now you just
hit my shoe.
Why you tripping?
You just hit my shoe, bro.
You just hit me.
You hit my shoe.
You don't even know my.
Watch out.
You don't even know my boyfriend, a sergeant.
Call him. Call him right now.
Tracy,
call him. Call him.
You just tripped.
Call him. Call him.
You don't even got your name tag.
It's Hunt 11442.
No,
there you go.
Why you?
Watch out. Stop.
Stop.
You're walking in my way. I'm
no,
going this way.
Go right there. Get it from right there.
Excuse me. I already said it.
Get it though. Get it.
I already said it.
Put it on camera, folks. Put it on camera. On there.
You touching my phone? What you doing?
Put it on camera.
Let me.
inmate, then beaten up within hours of his arrival. Former Chicago cop and convicted felon Jason Van Dyke has left the state of Illinois. He went east and landed in Connecticut as he serves his 6-year and 9-month sentence for shooting and killing Laquan McDonald back in 2014. Thanks for joining us. I'm Micah Mater.
And I'm Joe Donlin. WGN's Julie Unruh is here with the latest.
You guys, we have only a few details at this hour, but Jason Van Dyke has been moved to a federal facility in Connecticut and was placed in general population. No one tonight is saying exactly what happened. All we know is that WGN has confirmed the inmate was beaten up badly. Sources tell us it happened within 3 hours of actually getting there. The last we knew, the 40-year-old former police officer was being held in a state facility, the Rock Island County Jail near the Illinois-Iowa border. Since his sentencing about a month or so ago, someone made the decision to move Van Dyke from a state-run facility to a federal one. In this case, it's the low-security federal correctional institution in Danbury, Connecticut, about an hour outside of New York City. Right now, all we know is that Jason Van Dyke is no longer in the custody of the state of Illinois. He's in a federal correctional facility now, far from his wife and 2 daughters. About 1,000 inmates reside at the Danbury facility, and critics might be asking why he was put with the general population of inmates there. Again, those close to him in the case say the inmate was beaten up badly almost as soon as he arrived. Van Dyke's wife, Tiffany, her greatest fear all along has been that she feared her husband would not survive the prison system, that he would be targeted potentially by other inmates because he was a white cop who shot a black teen 16 times. We're waiting to hear if her greatest fears actually have become a reality.
I cannot and will not stand by somebody hurting my husband, hurting my family more than we've already been hurt. We are done being hurt. I'm standing up for my husband right now because he can't. He cannot stand up for himself and fight anymore. This is a gigantic race issue. They put my husband in a setting to be harmed because of the fact that he was a white man who harmed a black gentleman in the line of duty. My husband is a police officer. He is a stand-up man. He has always been a stand-up human being. This has already finished. He's had his trial. He was convicted. Everybody got what they wanted. They had my husband put away. All he wanted to do was melt to the background, do his time, and come home to his family. Unfortunately, he is not being afforded that right. He's being basically a prisoner within the prison system.
Call the cop!
Get out!
You fucking nigger!
You fucking
You're a fucking low-life little bitch!
Get out, bitch! Get out!
You're a little low-life.
Sir, I'll call police on you.
I'll beat your ass. I'm not up on grade, nigga.
You're going to jail.
I'll beat your ass, nigga. Get the fuck out of here, bitch.
You're going to jail.
I'll pay the phone you
You're
down.
going to jail.
Get the fuck out. Get the ass out, bitch. What's up, boy? I'll beat your ass. Nigga, do it again. I'll beat your ass.
Don't hit me.
I'll beat your ass.
I didn't do anything wrong.
I'll beat your ass, nigga.
I didn't do anything
It's
wrong.
over with. It's over with.
I'll beat your ass,
It's over
nigga.
with. He got his.
I'm here to show you The Aura from Katy Perry. Here we have this fun and cute pair. It has a synthetic upper, and if you look closely, it does feature 2 eyes, a nose, and a lip right there, giving it a very unique and super fun look.
Katy Perry's shoes yanked off shelves after she says she was saddened when they were compared to blackface. The loafers pictured here, which was offered on Dillard's website until it got taken down. The blackface controversy is over the roof face slip-on loafer and Aura face black heel sandal. Those are pieces in her Katy Perry collection that her site touts as designed 100% by Katy Perry. USA Today reports the shoe was pulled off her official website. Multiple retailers have taken the shoe off their sites. Social media was abuzz about the footwear, with many saying they resembled blackface. Perry issued a statement to People about her controversial footwear, saying, "I was saddened when it was brought to my attention that it was being compared to painful images reminiscent of blackface. Our intention was never to inflict any pain. We have immediately removed them." It's just the latest in fashion missteps with pieces that many are finding disrespectful.
Gucci's fashion-forward top getting more complaints than compliments. Critics on social media slamming this $890 black turtleneck with a red cutout for the mouth. You mean to tell me no one saw the awful blackface resemblance? The luxury fashion label apologizing on its website and pulling the item, adding it is fully committed to increasing diversity throughout our organization.
Apologies are not enough. We need to see a real embrace of diversity and inclusion in leadership of these companies.
Prada recently pulled an entire collection of products depicting a monkey with bright red lips. And H&M hired a diversity leader after showcasing this online ad featuring a hoodie with the phrase, "coolest monkey in the jungle."
If people look like me were working in the boardroom of Gucci, this product would have never been greenlit.
These fashion statements turn social faux pas, trending for all the wrong reasons.
Naturally curly hair. They say that it's making a comeback.
When did
Are you
it leave?
excited?
I've always had curly hair.
That is
Y'all
a feminist statement.
Huh?
What do you...
No, is that you, Joy?
Oh, you know this picture.
Oh, Joy, is that you?
Yes.
Joy, that is
Oh,
you?
Yes.
Joy, are you
Wait.
black?
No, I know. I was so cute. Look how cute I was.
Are you my auntie, Joy?
No. That is me.
My word. What year is this? Circa
I
what?
was 29. It was a Halloween party. I went as a beautiful African woman.
Oh, yes, you ain't black.
But that's my hair. That's my hair.
That, you can be, yeah, but it is. So the whole point of
Why
it is
are you
that curly
upset with
hair
me
is
now?
coming back. I thought
That is me.
Did you have tanning lotion on,
A
Joy?
little, I had makeup that was a little bit darker than my skin.
It's going to fix it.
But that's my actual hair, though.
I love it, though.
Lady, let that be a lesson to you.
What's the matter with you boys shooting up that man's hen house?
I'll shoot any chicken trying to follow me home.
Well, why don't you get a job and go to work?
You almost had me a job this morning.
Where?
I went down to the post office and asked that man, could he let me have one of them jobs as a letter toter?
No, Cotton, you mean a mail carrier.
And the man said before he could give me a situation, he'd have to put me through a simple self-examination.
No, stupid. You mean a civil service examination.
Well, the man carried me in a little room and set me down and started asking me a gang of questions.
Well, what'd he ask you?
First thing the man asked me is, how far is it from the sun to the moon?
He asked you how far it was from the sun to the moon?
Yeah, that's what the man asked me.
Well, what'd you tell him?
I told him if he was going to give me that route, I didn't want the job.
Well, tell me, how would you like to go to work for me?
Yes, ma'am. How much you going to pay me, I hope?
Well, let's see now. I'll pay you all your work.
No, ma'am. I got to have some money.
You know, Cotton, I'm making a picture called The Lion Tamer.
The Lion Tamer?
Uh-huh.
There ain't but one kind of lion I'll mess with.
What kind's that?
Ooh, that's a dandelion.
Now, all I want you to do is meet me at the zoo in the morning at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, with the rest of the monkeys.
With the rest of the monkeys.
Yeah, I'll bring my grandpa with me.
I want to get a moving picture of you in the lion's cage.
Well, if you ever do get a picture of me in a lion's cage, it'll be moving all right.
Oh, Cotton, the lion can't hurt you.
Can't hurt me. I know, but he can make me hurt myself.
Why, the lion's tame. He'll eat right off your hand.
Eat off of your hand and off of your leg, too. I know them cats.
Oh, but you don't understand, Cotton. The lion was raised on milk.
Raised on milk? I was, too, but I eat pork chops now.
Why, he can't bite you.
Now, how come he can't bite me?
He hasn't got a tooth in his head.
I know, but he can gum me to death. I don't want him gnawing on me.
Now, all I want to do is snap you as you enter the lion's cage.
You just want to snap me as I enter?
Yes.
Well, you better snap me as I enter, because you will never be able to focus me when I start out, because I'm Alabama bound.
If I stomped a puppy to death out here,
up here, just a little puppy, and stomped it right here to death in front of you, most of you would need therapy. And I would be arrested probably faster than killing a black man for killing a puppy. Now, I want you to look at this photo very closely, and I want you to see who's in it. More important than the man hanging, because you got to understand the lynchings that occurred in America happened after slavery, not during. Thousands of lynchings happened after slavery, because this is a reaction to white fear of what we would do once freed. But we didn't create a vigilante group to take out white people, but they did create a vigilante group to take us out now that we're free. See, that happened after slavery. They were called the what? The Ku Klux Klan. They don't wear hoods anymore, they wear suits. But they're alive and well all over the world, even here. So, look at who's in the picture. I want you to look at this little girl in particular. You can't see her closely, but she's actually grimacing, like smirking. Now, remember, let's go back to the puppy concept here. She would be loathed and torn up probably if this was a puppy, which means he's less than that, because she's not disturbed. This little girl is not disturbed by this, but she should be, shouldn't she? People always ask me, they go, Joy, what was the impact on white people? There it is. Right there. Can't feel any empathy for him. None, zero, zip. There's a little one back here, even smaller. Because whatever she's been taught or told, socialized to believe, makes him no longer human.
All right, and we're back on the forecast. Now, one of America's biggest fears is a black man with a gun. Even though too many of us don't have the mindset of protecting ourselves from this system, and we will use it on each other faster than anybody else. But they understand America's biggest threat is a black, well-regulated militia. The Second Amendment was never meant to apply to you. The Constitution itself was never meant to apply to you. And the people that wrote it said they never could imagine that it would. They put so many resources into stopping our unity. And the government even created programs just because of the fear of the black messiah. Now, really, that's just their fear and guilt. They think everybody else thinks like they do. And they fear once we are free, we're going to come do to them what they did to us. But that's nothing but classic projection. I know they love to tell us to go back to Africa, but in reality, they would never want us to be on our own land, in charge of our own institutions. Even if we did go back to Africa like they said, once they realize America can't really do anything without us, they'll be right back over there like the first time. And even though America has always fought for a Second Amendment right to bear arms, when it comes to black people with the guns, you're automatically a threat. They won't even take the time to see if it's licensed or not. In Vallejo, a young 21-year-old brother, Willie McCoy, was shot by the police in a drive-thru at Taco Bell. So let's see how this brother, Willie McCoy, got shot so many times by Vallejo police.
It's like 7 cops out here. They just blocked the drive-thru. The guy over there doesn't want to come out. I don't know why. Holy, dude. Dude, they just fired on that.
New video tonight of an officer-involved shooting in Vallejo. It is disturbing. You hear the moment when 6 officers opened fire at a Taco Bell drive-thru, killing a local rapper. Here's Nightbeat's Kristen Ayers.
Tonight, we were the only news station to speak to 2 eyewitnesses who say they saw that shooting unfold. They were in a car about 50 yards from the Taco Bell drive-thru here when they say police opened fire, and they caught it all on video.
7 cops out here.
In the video, you hear Vallejo police officers yelling before a barrage of gunfire. Raleigh Gaboon and his friend Patrick Gabriel were watching and taking video from their car nearby when it happened.
People started shouting, and then
gunshots, just like that. My heart was just beating fast, like, wow, this is actually happening here in Vallejo.
Patrick, who didn't want to show his face on camera, was in the driver's seat. He says he didn't know until the next day that the man who was shot, Willie Bo McCoy, was someone he knew.
He was my classmate in high school. Heartbreaking.
Tonight, Vallejo police released their first ever video press release.
Our condolences and prayers go out to the family of the deceased.
And shared new information. They say he was slumped over, unresponsive in the car, had a gun in his lap, and the transmission in drive. When officers surrounded the car, they say he woke up.
The driver suddenly reached down for the firearm, and at this point, 6 officers fired the duty weapons at the driver.
Neither Raleigh nor Patrick could see whether McCoy reached for a weapon. They say they're sharing the video tonight for McCoy's family.
Just so if the families ever need proof of what really happened, I could have just stepped up and showed what happened.
In Vallejo, Kristen Ayers on the Night Beat.
Now authorities say the investigation is ongoing. They're also still waiting for the coroner's report from the Solano County Sheriff.
Now, this brother, Willie McCoy, ended up falling asleep in the drive-thru at Taco Bell. So one of the employees called 911. Now, they call it a welfare check. But in cases like this, more times than not, it's not in our best welfare to call the police. More times than not, the situation is worse when the police show up. So when they got there, the police said they saw him sleeping and he was slumped over. But they said they noticed a gun in his lap. Now, the whole time, the car is still on and it's still in drive. And his family said they didn't know why he was unresponsive. Anything could have been wrong with him. But they never called for an ambulance because it was never about helping him. It was supposed to be a welfare check, and they didn't even call for paramedics, only backup. And it turns out he's an up-and-coming rapper that's been on tour, so he was probably so exhausted that he fell asleep in the drive-thru. Now, the police said they were going to go in and just get the gun, but the door was locked. So as they surround the car, they said the brother started waking up, most likely confused, as anybody would be, especially if you wake up in an unfamiliar place with people pointing guns at you. But the police said when he woke up, he started moving quickly and it looked like he was going to reach for the gun. They said they gave him commands and he didn't comply, but they shot him within 4 seconds of him waking up. 6 cops fired multiple shots all at the same time. And then after they shot him at least 10 times, they won't say how many times he got shot. But witnesses say they counted at least 20 bullet holes in his car. But after they shot him, then they started yelling, "Put your hands up." And that goes back to that fear of us. They've always been obsessed with us. In reality, they've been deifying us. That's the mindset behind our whole blackface thing. They really believe bullets won't kill us. So a lot of times they go overboard. Now, of course, all 6 cops said they feared for their life and they had no other choice but to open fire. And then after they shot him, they reached through the glass they shot out to open the door and then tried to get his brother CPR. But CPR doesn't work too good when you already filled him up with bullets. If anything, you're just killing him faster. Now, his family called this an execution. But because he had a gun, of course the police say it was justified.
Shot and killed while he sat in his car in a fast food drive-thru. Police say he reached for a gun in his lap, while the man's relatives say the police did not have to shoot. Good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Somerville.
And I'm Julie Hayner. Tonight, there is a memorial outside a Taco Bell in Vallejo for 21-year-old Willie McCoy. Police say he had a gun in his lap and reached for it before officers opened fire. KTVU's Henry Lee joins us now from the Vallejo Police Department with the latest on the investigation. Henry.
Well, Julie, Willie McCoy's family says he did not have to die, but I've learned that 6 Vallejo police officers opened fire. They say they were forced to do so when he reached for a stolen, loaded gun. A memorial of flowers and candles sits near the Taco Bell drive-thru in Vallejo, where 21-year-old Willie McCoy was shot and killed by Vallejo police on Saturday night.
Willie was a good person, you know, he didn't deserve that.
It started when a Taco Bell employee called 911, saying a man was slumped over in a Mercedes in the drive-thru on Admiral Callahan Lane. Police say officers arrived and found McCoy unresponsive and with a gun in his lap. His car was locked, the transmission in drive. Police say McCoy suddenly began to move and that officers told him to show his hands, but that he quickly reached for the gun. police shot and killed him. Police say they recovered a loaded .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun with an extended magazine. The gun had been reported stolen out of Oregon.
Willie just had a lot on his shoulders. That's it. Young man, good young man. Ain't did nothing to nobody, made everybody love him, you feel me?
You can see numerous bullet holes in the windshield of his Mercedes, which was towed away as evidence. The shooting is under investigation by Vallejo police and the Solano County DA's office. McCoy was a rapper known as Willie Bow and part of the group FBG. In his music, he spoke of challenges in his life, including losing his father. Throughout the day, his family and friends stopped by to drop off candles and to voice outrage.
But to be passed out and then abruptly woken up out of your slumber. And so get your hands up, surrender, whatever. You're not thinking coherently.
He and others say police should have given him some time to get his bearings, even if he was armed.
So he's got a gun. They got guns. Okay, this is the thing. It's even odd. But at least let the man have some kind of a fighting chance.
I have no words for Vallejo Police Department. They supposed to protect and serve. That's not protecting and serving. They're not supposed to shoot the kid neither.
Now, the names of the 6 Vallejo police officers involved have not been released. Tomorrow, McCoy's family says they intend to meet with civil rights attorney John Burris, and Burris tells me he's considering legal action. Live at the Vallejo Police Department, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Henry, have police or family or friends been able to shed some light or explain why he was slumped over and why he had a stolen gun on his lap?
Yeah, Vallejo police are saying they are still trying to figure out how that gun came to be allegedly in Mr. McCoy's possession. They have notified the Oregon law enforcement agency that did take that stolen gun report. At this point, we do not know why McCoy himself was slumped over, whether or not he was under the influence of some substance or if he was simply tired. We were told that he was on tour as a rapper.
Now, of course, the Vallejo police are investigating themselves. But of course, they're already on code and protecting the cops. They don't even want to release their names. But this isn't new for Vallejo police. Almost exactly a year to the day before this brother Willie McCoy got murdered, another brother, Ronell Foster, got shot by Vallejo police.
The family of a man who was shot and killed by a Vallejo police officer last night is skeptical of the official story and is vowing to find out the truth. The deadly encounter happened at Marin and Florida Street. ABC 7 News anchor Eric Thomas has the story from Vallejo.
While friends and relatives were putting up a memorial to the man everyone knew as Cat Daddy, Vince Peachy was thinking about the foot chase he saw last night.
I heard 3 to 4 shots. Then after that, they taped it off.
Those shots, fired by police, ended the life of 32-year-old Ronell Foster.
This is where my son died.
Today, relatives visited the spot where they believe Foster was killed.
You don't have to run no more, baby. You don't have to run.
They came here filled with grief and accompanied by lawyers, associates of attorney John Burris, who are starting their own investigation.
We've been retained by the family to investigate this and to represent them as it relates to the loss of their loved one.
Vallejo police would not do an on-camera interview, but in a statement they say an officer tried to stop Foster near the intersection of Marin and Florida Streets last night, but Foster ran. The officer ran after him and caught him behind a home near Marin and Carolina Streets. The statement says there was a struggle and, quote, the subject managed to forcibly take away a metal flashlight from the officer and armed himself with it. The officer, fearing imminent and serious physical harm, discharged his duty firearm, striking the suspect. Attorneys for Foster's family are skeptical.
He was unarmed, and he was trying to get away. That does not mean that you have a death sentence because you're trying to evade being arrested.
Attorneys say it's too soon to say whether a lawsuit will be filed, but the family promises this.
Your death will not go in vain, baby. I promise we're going to get to the truth.
The officer who fired the fatal shots has been put on routine administrative leave. The shooting itself is being investigated by Vallejo Police and the Solano County District Attorney's Office.
Now, this brother, Ronell Foster, who was unarmed, was just riding his bike down the street when out of nowhere, Officer Ryan McMahon just started following him. Now, the cop said he stopped him to question him about a domestic dispute that happened earlier, which would mean the cop had to know who he was before he stopped him. But he said the brother, Ronell Foster, took off running. He said when he caught up with him, they had a violent physical altercation. The cop said he tried to tase him, but it didn't work. And then he said this brother forcibly took his flashlight and he presented it in a threatening fashion, whatever that means. The cop said he was in fear of imminent serious physical harm, so he had no choice but to open fire on his brother. Now the thing is, Ronell Foster was unarmed, and he shot him multiple times in the back and the back of the head. According to witnesses, they never even saw this brother trying to fight, and the evidence shows he was clearly running away. Even the one witness trying to take up for the cops couldn't say this brother had the police flashlight or any weapon.
Friends and relatives of 32-year-old Ronell Foster are demanding answers from Vallejo police today after an officer shot and killed the father of two last night.
I just want to know why they did this to him. They didn't have any right to do this to him. He has family, he has kids. I'm just hurt.
Last night around 7:40, a Vallejo officer tried stopping Foster as he was riding his bike, possibly to question him about an earlier domestic dispute. Foster took off running with the officer chasing after him. Police say the two men eventually got into a violent struggle in this courtyard that ended with gunfire.
And I feel that the officer was 100% justified because the guy would not comply.
Robert Wolf, a neighbor, says he witnessed this confrontation and the deadly shooting that followed. He tells us the officer tried tasing Foster.
Had no effect on the guy. Then the guy starts at the officer again to, I guess, to, defend himself or whatever, or take the officer down. And at that point, the officer pulled his service revolver and fired on him.
But the man was not holding anything, a knife or a gun.
I could not see the right side of the man. All I saw was him standing there and the officer. And he was very aggressive.
In a brief written statement, Vallejo police said the officer fired in self-defense. There was no mention of the man who died being armed. Foster's uncle, Ronald Jackson, says the family is now struggling to understand why this happened.
They basically executed my nephew out here in the street, which is not fair to any family. Should have to go through this. Nobody should have to go through anything like this. How does it turn into a violent struggle when you're running away from somebody?
The officer who opened fire last night has not been identified. He has been put on administrative leave for the time being. There will be a full investigation done by both the Vallejo Police Department and the Solano County District Attorney's Office to determine if this deadly shooting was justified.
Now, the police did have on a body camera, but the Vallejo Police Department refused to release the footage or even show the family the footage. They ignored all the family requests, and they even had to file a lawsuit to try to get the video. Of course, after investigating themselves, the police found the shooting justified, and they say this cop who started everything acted in self-defense. He got his paid vacation, and he's right back on the force right now. Now we expect the Vallejo police to investigate themselves with this young brother, Willie McCoy. But if we keep doing the same things, expecting different results, that's called insanity. We have hundreds of years of evidence. If we don't understand the situation by now, I don't understand what it's going to take. We need to put our tribal differences aside and get on code. And if we can't leave our personal beliefs to the side to protect the most vulnerable people in our community, our elderly and our children who are under attack just like the rest of us, then the same thing is going to keep happening over and over. At the end of the day, we are all we got. Until we realize that, the same things will keep on happening.
Actor Liam Neeson tried to do some damage control today after telling a British newspaper he once went looking for a deadly confrontation with any black man who would cross his path. Kevin Frazier of Entertainment Tonight has our report on this.
I'm not racist.
As a young man, action star Liam Neeson once roamed the streets of his hometown in Ireland with a club in his hands looking to attack any random black man.
And I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black bastard would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, so that I could kill him.
Neeson admitted that 40 years ago he had the urge to lash out when a close friend said she had been raped by a black man.
I went out deliberately into black areas in this city looking to be set upon so that I could unleash physical violence.
He revealed the story while promoting his new movie, Cold Pursuit, about a revenge killing.
It kind of shocked me when I came down to earth after having these horrible feelings. Luckily, no violence occurred, ever. thanks be to God.
Neeson's characters, like in the movie Taken, are often bent on revenge.
I told you I would find you.
Neeson said he sought help from a priest and admits that his instincts were wrong. The social media backlash was swift and unforgiving, including Rolling Stone culture writer Trey Johnson.
He wanted to run into a black man that was willing to provoke something in him that would give him justification to kill someone. I mean, it made my stomach just drop.
The NAACP called Neeson's story sick, adding that pain suffered is not an excuse for racism. Also, the red carpet premiere of his film has been canceled.
I'm not getting up here. You're not going to get up. All right. Get off. Get off! I told you Friday, right? And I always sit there all the way home. I'm not sitting there. Where are you going? Where are you going? Don't go for me. I'm going to the very last stop. She won't move, and I always sit here. No, Mom, don't sit here. You sit here. I want to sit there. I don't want to sit there. I can't put my legs there. Why? I can't. They're not long enough to get there. I've got this fit. Come on.
We're tracking breaking news out of Phoenix involving Cindy McCain. Phoenix police now disputing her claim that she witnessed a toddler being trafficked at Sky Harbor Airport. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kadiba Devine.
And I'm Tram Mai. Mark Curtis is on assignment tonight. Team 12's Bianca Bono is live in the 12 News Alert Center with this breaking story. Bianca?
Well, Tram Caribe, this all started Tuesday when Cindy McCain was on the radio talking to KTAR's Mac and Gatos about an incident she witnessed last week at the airport. Take a listen to what she told the radio host.
I spotted. It looked odd. It was a woman of a different ethnicity than the child, this little toddler she had, and something didn't click with me. I tell people, trust your gut. I went over to the police and I told them what I thought, and they went over and questioned her, and by God, she was trafficking that kid.
No way. And you said a toddler?
Yeah.
Cindy McCain going on to say the woman with the toddler was waiting for the man who bought the child to get off a plane. Well, now Phoenix police disputing McCain's claim, telling us last Wednesday McCain requested a welfare check on a child at Sky Harbor, but during the check, police officers determined there was no evidence of criminal conduct or child endangerment. Cindy McCain has since taken to Twitter saying, at Phoenix Sky Harbor, I reported an incident that I thought was trafficking. I commend the police officers for their diligence. I apologize if anything else I have said on this matter distracts from, if you see something, say something.
I just put Confederate flag on their hands, on their face, wherever they wanted it. During lunch, they had the police, the principal, the vice principal, Mr. Smith, all the deans. They were all telling us we either had to wash it off our face or go home.
Hashtag history, not hate. A movement these Fayetteville High School students are standing up for.
I told them I wasn't going to take it off. So now I went to the office, we had a discussion, and then the head principal ended up calling me racist.
Principal of FHS, Dr. Jay Dostal, says their actions were against the school's policy to keep a safe and undisrupted environment.
We're not trying to trample on their First Amendment rights. We're just trying to have a safe and orderly school environment.
According to the district's rules, attire that disrupts the educational process or otherwise interferes with the rights or opportunities of others to learn or teach is considered improper and unacceptable.
We have validated that the Confederate flag in our building can cause a substantially disruptive environment for some of our students, and because of that, we're going to take measures to make sure that all of our kids remain safe.
But the students say their actions were showing the history of the flag.
The American flag was raised for slavery too, but I mean, all the flags we're trying to say is we don't want to be in your nation, we want to be ourselves, we don't want to be part of this.
To me, it's for Southern pride, it's our heritage.
Despite being reprimanded by the school, the students say they'll continue to protest.
They're both going to keep wearing their jackets, and if I have makeup, I'm gonna put like hashtag history not hate on both my hands. I'll still keep putting the flag on my face.
None of us are racist. None of us are doing it for hate. It's Southern pride, and we're not gonna take it off on anyone. It's
all flag. This is Arkansas. This is the South.
I have asked President Trump to include in the Tuesday night State of the Union speech the mandating of the death penalty for anyone convicted of killing a law enforcement officer. He has in the past expressed support for the death penalty for killing a police officer, and the time to move ahead on that is now. There have been 10 deaths just in 2019 nationwide of people killing law enforcement officers. Sadly, 2 of those deaths are here in Alabama. We have to do the maximum possible to prevent this. I have also asked the president to establish an express lane so that executions aren't delayed by 20 to 30 years of criminals who have been convicted of capital offenses. Texas has an express lane, and we should all look at that. It's no deterrent for somebody to be worried about something that might happen to them 30 years from now. We need timely and swift justice. Yes, I believe that to get the attention of a would-be killer who might kill a law enforcement officer, he needs to know that the old-fashioned public hanging has been brought back. We've got to get something to get the attention to serve as a deterrent, a preventive. We don't just want to convict and execute people who have killed law enforcement officers. We want to prevent the next one from happening.
Naperville City Councilman Kevin Coyne called for the resignation of Illinois' 81st District Representative Ann Stava Murray at the most recent City Council meeting.
It is very apparent that Ann Stava Murray has a fundamental misunderstanding of both the Naperville community and what it means to represent a constituency.
Coyne's remarks came in response to a Facebook comment left by Stava Murray on the page Ann Stava Murray for U.S. Senate. The representative wrote that Naperville has a history of white supremacist policies. Several council members and members of the public weighed in on the comments.
If we were really a community that was that racist, we were really a community of white supremacists, there would be no way that I could stand here and say to you, this is my hometown.
To be clear, I do not believe Naperville is a community with white supremacist policies. However, that does not mean Naperville is immune to the ills and bias and discrimination. To believe so would be a fallacy.
White, the diocese's only person of color, went on to suggest a committee to listen to issues from minority Naperville residents, though White still wasn't sure whether those sessions would take place during a formal meeting or in a more relaxed setting. Stava Murray posted on her Facebook page the morning after the meeting, saying, "I absolutely would update my comment to something like, 'We're working on overcoming a legacy of white supremacy.'" She also said that she was glad her comments have sparked productive public conversations. The meeting began with White awarding plaques to 4 Black Naperville residents, recognizing their actions in honor of Black History Month.
Meanwhile, the Wisconsin Senate plans to vote on honoring Black History Month. It comes after Democrats in the Assembly sparred with Republicans over naming former NFL player Colin Kaepernick in the resolution and ultimately approved a resolution that did not name him. The Republican Assembly Majority Leader, who is white, said Kaepernick was not named because he is a controversial figure. Kaepernick, who was born in Wisconsin, drew criticism when he began kneeling before the national anthem in 2016 to protest police brutality and racial inequality.
Our history is forever lost. We have to pay money to find out our history. And when I talk about this shit make me so sad. It almost make me shed tears because sometimes I still look at pictures to this day and see a black man hung when his hands tied behind his back with fire coming up off his feet. I'm like, God damn, how many ways you trying to kill him? He already can't free himself, but you still put fire on his feet too? When I look at that, that's my people. He could, the generation down, there could somebody be a relative to me. I always think about what have we done as a species or as people, what have we done so much for people to hate us? Why? Why? What? Why? I don't understand it. And for that reason of me not understanding, I know a lot of people don't understand it. And if you ain't lived in it, or if you ain't lived in the skin like this, you'll never understand it. That's why I speak for it, and I'll continue to speak for it.
If you just don't understand the connection that we have with the colored people. In other words, we work with them, and they work with us. And we're not going to take him and push him off somewhere just because we could do it.
You tell these people that's what I've been telling them right here. Had we been your friends for years?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Had we worked more of them than anybody in this country?
Yes, sir. Sure have.
Right.
You got hungry, we give you something to eat, don't we, Ben? Yes, sir.
And his name is Billy
Billy Weatherly, that's right.
No relation now, but he's a Weatherly, right?
How about him, Bill? Yes, sir.
You proud of that name, is it, Bill?
I think that name came down
proud
through
of that
slavery.
name, is it, Bill?
Yes, sir. Billy Weatherly. Yes,
I think
sir.
everybody loves to have a little that Weatherly.
Yes, sir.
How many people it is here in Pine Hill tonight at 12 o'clock you could go ask them for help, they wouldn't help you?
I am, but
Bill, if you got in trouble, who'd you go to, the white or the black? Tell the truth now. That's the best word, Dad, Bill, put them on the spot so there ain't no color folk in. You don't want to be embarrassed right by yourself. But is there anybody here that wouldn't help you, Billy?
No.
We have always got along fine with the niggers. We never mistreated them. And there's no complaints. And they are all happy.
White, all colored, can get ahead if you're willing to pay the price.
Yes, sir.
The price is willing to do out a lot of things you think you got to have and work like the dickens.
How long you been working with PG?
Let me see. I don't know exactly, but it's been mind you 20 years, I mean.
Good folks, ain't it, Bill?
Yes.
Stayed sick a long time. They put you on a job that you could stay on then.
Yes, sir.
Stamp and a cigarette.
Yes.
Bill, did I treat you and your dad and your brother at all when you lived with me over there? Did I treat you right?
Yes, sir.
I went more than halfway with you, didn't I?
Sure did. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I did, too.
Yes, sir.
In 1964, the desegregation of Jonesboro, Louisiana High School was threatened by local authorities with fire hoses. 4 armed black men arrived with loaded shotguns. Without firing a shot, the mob dispersed and the authorities retreated. The students entered the school without incident. Those men were members of the Deacons for Defense, an armed citizens militia founded in Jonesboro, Louisiana. The Deacons were everyday citizens who by 1965 had organized into more than 50 chapters throughout the South in self-defense from the Ku Klux Klan.
In 1964, down in Louisiana, there were all types of demonstrations going on by freedom riders. Many times, the demonstrations would be met by armed white resistance. People were dying and being shot and intimidated because they were unarmed. And basically, because they were unarmed, they were also being denied the right to vote.
The Deacons protected civil rights workers for CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, who were registering voters in Louisiana and Mississippi. They patrolled black neighborhoods and protected black churches where CORE was holding voting rights seminars.
These were regular, everyday people. They were not some paramilitary group. The thing that made them different is they were veterans from the Korean War. They were veterans from World War II. And so they did have the training and they did have the discipline that came from being veterans. Once the Klansman and the white citizen consular and the deputy sheriff that was wearing the sheet at night learned that these Deacons for Defense would shoot back, then they were not as readily willing to go and pounce upon them in the wee hours of the morning.
Are you going to do something about it?
Because now they knew that, well, the right to bear arms is providing constitutional rights for these blacks, irrespective of the fact that we want to take away their civil rights. They're fighting on solid ground.
The effectiveness of the Deacons in deterring violence was so great that Dr. Martin Luther King and Floyd McKissick of CORE hired the Deacons to protect the marchers from Klan aggression in the 1966 March Against Fear.
The very effect of armed resistance in the name of civil rights is what really cast a new enthusiasm into the civil rights movement at a critical time.
I come here tonight and plead with you. Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. As I said to a group last night, nobody else can do this for us. No document can do this for us. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation can do this for us. No Kennysonian or Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can do this for us. If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with the pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. As somebody said earlier tonight, we don't have anything to be ashamed of. Somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. There's always something degrading and low and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, and clean. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful.
That's how you feel, man? You think that's what a nigger is? No. You're a nigger. You're a nigga. You're ignorant as fuck. You think you're all tough as fuck, bro? Until a nigga like me get around, I just knock you the fuck out, nigga. Go to sleep, nigga. I don't fucking play that shit. Bitch, call somebody else a nigga. Bitch, I don't play that shit. Get knocked the fuck out, nigga. One minute, quit it, boy. Fuck with Wayne Cat. This is a real nigga.
All right, and we back on the forecast. And I want to say RP to the brother Willie McCoy, to the brother Ronell Foster. And even though the brother Daquan Huey is injured for life, I'm glad he's here to tell his story. But until we put our tribal differences aside, the same thing is going to keep on happening. We have to take control of our own destiny. We have to protect ourselves. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we do have to learn how to protect the things that we build and protect our communities. America goes out of the way to make us all easy targets, and they still get on code before they attack. But we have a hard time getting on code to defend ourselves, to defend our elderly, and defend our children. At some point, we're going to have to get over the fear and do what we have to do. Our ancestors left us the blueprint. The point is doing what we have to do with as least casualties as possible. We've already had so many casualties, we could never properly respect each one of them. There are so many stories that's just lost in history. It's up to us to continue what our ancestors have done. We are the generation that will get us over the hill and set the next generation up to be in charge of their own destiny, to control their own institutions. And we are more on code than people like to believe, but we still have a long way to go. But at the end of the day, we don't have a choice. We don't have any friends. We're all we got. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.